Okay, today we're going to work on replacing a fuel pump in a 2004 F250. Now most of the Super Duties, it's a similar procedure. We are dealing with a 2004, but most of them are going to be the same. We chose to remove the bed instead of dropping the fuel tank. So we'll see how that goes, and we want to take you along on the process. So basically, the beds are fairly easy to remove on these F250s and the Super Duties. Ours has 4 bolts, and they are this Torx head on them. And a lot of people have issues with removing the bolts, especially if the truck has been in the north where there's a lot of salt on the roads. Our truck is a southern truck, and 4 of the bolts came out very easily, and 4 of them took some persuasion. The most important thing that you want to do is get a Torx Plus bit, and they're kind of hard to find, but you have to make sure it's a Torx Plus, and they are slightly different from the regular Torx. I don't know if you can see in the camera there, but it has a wider, instead of being a star where it comes out to a fine point, it's a little bit more meaty on the stars. So basically the 4 came right out. The other 4 we put PB Blaster on, penetrating oil, and we had to apply some heat to the bottom of them with a little handheld propane torch, or MAP gas torch. And we still ended up messing up the threads, or the bit. So what we ended up having to do was take the next larger size Torx Plus bit, put it on, and pound it down with a hammer, and we were able to finish removing them. So that is going to about cover the bed bolts. We'll need to remove the tailgate, and we'll need to, on this particular model, it's just 2 connectors, electrical connectors you'll find under the back bumper. Bolts, we did put a light duty impact driver on them to try to loosen them up, but for the most part we're removing them with hand tools so that we make sure and don't strip anything out. Alright, to remove the tailgate, you have to remove the 2 side cables, and they have a little clip in here. You just have to pull back, disconnect, and then the tailgate should just, you find the right spot, and it should just pull right out. So the way the tailgate removal goes is this hinge over here on this side is not round. So you get the tailgate tilted up where there's a slot in there where it pulls out, and then you just slide it towards the passenger side and it comes right off. Down under here, on this particular Super Duty, right under the bumper is where we're going to find those electrical connectors. And they're down here where they get a lot of road grime, so they may take a little persuasion, although that wasn't too bad. So there's one. And here is the other one. Alright, those are both disconnected. You may want to check on your Super Duty. Some of them do not have those connectors, and you have to remove the tail lights and pull the wires down. We'll remove the bed bolts, the 2 electrical connections under the bumper, and the tailgate. And then the only other thing you should have to remove is in the gas filler. There are 3 bolts that will have to be removed to allow the fuel filler to come away from the bed. The fuel filler ended up being taking 7mm socket. And there's just 3 bolts in there that we have to remove. Here's one. They're kind of back in there, tough to get to. Alright, so here is the fuel tank after we get the bed slid back. And you're supposed to have a special tool to remove the fuel pump cap, which we did not have. So we attempted to use a strap to make an improvised strap wrench, and that didn't work. So As what we found that's going to work is a chain wrench, and one was not long enough to go around it, so we've got two set up here. Some people will remove these with screwdrivers and just tap on these little flanges, but it's very easy to damage that fuel pump cap. So we're going to see how this system works with the wrenches, the chain wrenches. Oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, we're gonna have to inch it back a little bit, and we'll get one more bite, and then I think we can probably remove it by hand. Yeah, you see how these chain wrench works? Yeah. Just go ahead and keep inching that out. There's a lot of road grime gets down in the top of that fuel tank over time. Go ahead and pull the chain wrench out and see how it's looking. Now you do want to go ahead and clean out as much of the dust and dirt and mud that you can, so you're not dropping stuff down in the fuel tank. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and try to clean this up a little bit better so we don't drop any of that dirt down in the fuel tank. Alright, so we got the fuel pump cleaned up so we're not dropping dirt and dust into the fuel tank. And then you got to remove the electrical wires going in, and you need to remove the fuel line and the fuel line breather. These guys were a little dirty too from road grime, but there's a little button you push in, and you just push that button in and pull the line, and it comes right off. This smaller line, it's got the button back here. May need pliers. There we go. And then just pull the fuel. Alright, so we've got our fuel pump removed from the fuel tank. We had a little bit of issues getting it off the bottom of the tank, and it's really not that hard once you see what's going on. It's hard because looking down in the tank you can't see what's going on. But the fuel pump assembly is sitting in the tank like this. You remove the nut off the top, you pull this back, and then this fuel pump is sitting down in a cradle in the bottom of the tank. Because all you have to do to release it is either squeeze these two tabs together, or if the plastic is soft, you might have to reach down the side and pull up on that to release the pump from the cradle. Now in this particular repair, we are just replacing the motor, not the whole assembly. So we've got a Delphi. We chose to go ahead and get a name brand part. You can get cheaper parts on Amazon and eBay, but we chose to get a name brand because it is quite a bit of work to pull the bed off and do this whole repair. So we just got a replacement pump motor, and to install that is what we're going to need to do is pull this pump assembly apart. You need a little bitty tools to do it. But we're just going to pull this off. And I'm just going to stick these screws back in here so we don't lose them. Alright, and then we're going to pull the top of that fuel pump assembly off. There's three screws that hold that on. Top just comes off like that, and that is going to expose our fuel pump motor, which we can just pull up like that and go ahead and unhook the electrical connection. Alright, this is a Delphi fuel pump, and it is slightly different from the original, but alright, so this sock here, you just kind of wiggle it wiggle it until it comes off there. And this replacement pump is somewhat of a universal. It works in different models, so they do give you some different options for parts. We're just going to put that rubber boot on there, and then we're going to put that sock kind of work it down. Just work it down until it's all the way seated. Alright, and then we can start reassembling. Well, actually, we got this part put on the pump. Alright, then we'll go ahead and set that back in the pump assembly. Set that back on there. Make sure the pump is going to be held snugly in place. Okay, so one of the things different in the new pump is the original pump had a connector. Now the new Delphi pump just has spade connectors, and then they go into this connector. So we're going to go ahead and put these on. The spades are actually different size, so you can't hook it up backwards. There's one large one and one small one. So we'll just put that on and then plug the wiring harness in there. Alright, so then we'll go ahead and put the fuel line back on. Once again, you don't need to put them too tight, just snugged up good. Alright, and then we'll make sure that our fuel sending unit is moving freely and we didn't bend anything there. Last thing we need to do is replace the fuel sock. Alright, so it looks like a needle nose pliers is the proper tool for the job. You got to squeeze in these little tabs and then work the sock loose. You can see those little tabs there. They're very fragile, so be careful when removing them. Then you've got your new sock. And we just do a reverse, taking it off. You just work it on, work it in all the way till it bottoms out. And I don't know if you heard that click, these little tabs popped out here to lock it in place. And that is the fuel pump assembly. Should be ready to drop back in the fuel tank. Alright, it's a little dark in there, but maybe you can see there's a little cup in the bottom of the fuel tank. And when we go and start working the pump in there, we'll have to put the fuel sock through the one hole in that cup and just kind of work the assembly down. Alright, the one thing we do have to be careful with is on this fuel pump, it has little feet, and we need to make sure these little rubber feet are inserted. I think I'm going to turn those upside down. I think they can go either way. I'm going to turn it upside down to hold in there a little better maybe. Alright, we're going to put gloves on because we did not drain our fuel tank, which is making this a little bit more of a challenge. Alright, we've got the fuel pump back assembled. When it gets down in the cup, you can hear it snap as the fuel pump assembly snaps into the cup in the bottom. And we're going to make sure, just feel down there, make sure that the fuel sending unit moves freely and isn't binding or anything. Now our fuel pump, our replacement fuel pump did come with new gaskets, but these gaskets look pretty good, so I think we're just going to go ahead and and stay with the old ones. And the installation is going to be just pretty much a reverse of the removal. You just want to make sure you line up the fuel ports here where your fuel lines will be able to attach to them like they came off. So take that ring. Alright, we just want to snug this up real good. And like I said earlier on the removal, if you don't have anything else, you can use a pliers or a screwdriver or something to pound that over. I think just for good measure, we're going to go ahead and put our chain wrenches back on there to make sure and get it snug. Ideally, you would have a little longer chain wrench than we have, or even a large slip joint pliers. If you got a really big one, that would work. Alright, we got our nut tightened up, and then we are going to make our connections: the fuel line, the vent line, and the electrical connection. Want to clean everything and make sure you're not introducing dirt. And when you push these fuel lines on, you want to make sure that they click. Well, you know you got a good connection. Click. Alright, and our electric line goes right here. Click. Everything clicks. You want to make sure your fuel lines and electrical wires are where they used to be in the bed and not chafing on anything. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try this out and make sure that everything is working before we put the bed back on. So what we're going to do is try turning the key onto the position right before start, and we should hear the pump come and cycle on for a few seconds. So we're going to see if we can catch that and make sure everything's working right. Alright, so just to make sure we don't put any rusty parts back, we're taking a wire brush and wire brushing the old bolts. We had a couple of them that were pitted really bad and the threads were kind of messed up, so we did order a couple of new bolts. But the rest of them we're just going to wire brush, and then we're going to put anti-seize on all of them. So you can get anti-seize at pretty much any automotive store, and you want to put a liberal coating on the entire length of the threads, especially down towards the bottom down here. Make sure you get a good coating. With the anti-seize, it's going to make them much easier to take out next time, and it's going to protect the bolts from corrosion. Alright, so we're going to finish up our fuel pump installation with bed removal on a F250 2004 model. Is what I can tell you is it's not an easy job, but it's not a hard job. The thing I was most concerned with was actually lifting the bed off, and I can tell you 4 guys, we had no equipment, no cranes, no hoist, 4 guys, no problem lifting the bed off. Easy peasy. This is going to conclude our installation, and I would highly recommend doing a fuel pump replacement with removing the bed instead of dropping the tank. It really was a fairly easy process. It took us, we started the project and then we got some rain and had to come back to it. So it took us a little while, but overall, if you just sat down and did it in the afternoon, you could get it done in the afternoon fairly easy. Appreciate you watching this video. This is a little different from most of our videos. We are a small online shop. We sell camping equipment and homesteading products, and we would appreciate you checking our website out, wisementrading.com. We try to do some different videos to show you some stuff, and we have information that's hard to find. We try to do some how-to videos from time to time. But we'd appreciate it if you'd like the channel, like the video, ring the bell, and we will see you next time.